Simon Maverick presents Red Tide, a novel of the next Pacific War, by M.P. Woodward, read by Mack Sanderson. For Stacia, my love and my life. Let China sleep. When she wakes, she will shake the world. Napoleon, 1817. Letter to the Reader. Esteemed Reader, before you proceed with the narrative contained herein, I wish to clarify some significant points. While I have tried to present naval units, ranks, and weapons systems accurately, the characters, events, and settings depicted in this work are entirely products of my imagination. They exist solely within the creative confines of this fiction and are not intended to represent, resemble, or portray any real individuals or occurrences. Please also note that for the sake of brevity, I have simplified some high-level command structures. While fiction often reflects facets of reality, the content of this story remains firmly rooted in artistic invention and speculation. Respectfully, M.P. Woodward. Preface. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. President Ronald Reagan. President Reagan's quote is framed in glass on a large display on the quarterdeck of the USS Midway, an aircraft carrier built at the tail end of World War II that is now a museum in San Diego. Reading the Gipper's quote as I recently crossed Midway's quarterdeck, something I'd once done as an ensign in Subic Bay, I experienced a ghostly chill. The quote felt oddly prescient. I hope it has the same effect on other visitors. May we always remember that the carrier's namesake, the Battle of Midway, turned the tide of World War II in an unlikely ambush on a superior Japanese task force, a blow from which Japan's mighty navy would never recover. Midway was, quite literally, a battle for the ages. Had it gone the other way in those dark days of 1942, America's Pacific Fleet, already diminished at Pearl Harbor, would have been finished. With the loss of 3 U.S. Navy carriers, Japan would have taken Midway Island and built a base from which to threaten Hawaii, perhaps even California. The repercussions would have reverberated to the European theater, possibly closing the supply spigot of Lend-Lease that kept Russia and Britain hanging by a thread. An American-led liberation of Europe might never have happened. Intriguingly, Midway's historic pivot rested on several hit-or-miss chances. The location of the Japanese task force was based on a triangulation using unproven code-breaking intelligence. One of the 3 Pacific Fleet carriers, Yorktown, had been through a hasty round-the-clock refit, shaved from an estimated 3 months to a paltry 3 days, and the fleet's commander, Chester Nimitz, selected Raymond Spruance as task force leader to replace Bull Halsey, who was sidelined with shingles. An untested leader without flying experience, no one knew how Spruance would perform, least of all the aviators under his command. In the battle's initial stages, confusion reigned. American squadrons struggled to find the Japanese carriers. When they did, the Navy's core air tactic, dive bombers flying high to distract enemy fighters, while low-flying torpedo planes delivered the knockout blows, reversed itself because of timing errors. 68 brave men from 3 torpedo squadrons sacrificed their lives in doomed wave-skimming attacks because they'd arrived too early. But somehow, through sheer luck, divine providence, or flat-out grit, the Americans prevailed. It would take 3 additional years of heart-rending struggle for the Japanese to succumb, but there is little argument among historians that Midway had turned the tide. Addressing Reconstruction at the war's end, 720 delegates from 44 nations met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, in 1945. They agreed that henceforth the world's oceans should be considered a commons available to all nations. Thus, the greatest generation assumed the mantle of maintaining a worldwide fleet allies, and base architecture.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?